What is up, everybody? Solomon here. Super excited to be with Genfinity, interviewing a multitude of builders across Web3. Equally excited to have some legends from the Algorand ecosystem with us today, as well as World Chess and Grandmaster Miro. I want to hop right in. Algorand and World Chess have co-authored a white paper for a universal chess passport. So, you hear a lot about on-chain credentialing and kind of blockchain under the hood for real-world applications. I think we're going to be getting, directly into the weeds with that today. I want to kick off here, and feel free, each of you guys, maybe to give just a 30-second intro of yourself here, and we'll hop right in. Bruno, I'm going to start with you though, and we'll ramp it up.
Sure. Thanks so much. Yeah, so I'm Bruno. I'm the principal architect in the foundation. I also represent the foundation, some standardization working groups for standards and digital wallets, and it's sort of relevant in how this idea came to be, and happy to discuss more about it.
Awesome, Bruno. Thank you. And Matvey, go for it.
Hi, I'm in charge of operations in the World Chess. My name is Matvey. Matt is also okay if anybody has problem with pronouncing this. Really excited about the overall project with Algorand, with this particular thing that we are doing with the Universal Chess Passport. Was an avid crypto fan since 2015, 13 maybe even. Yeah, nice to be
Awesome.
here.
Awesome, Matt. Thank you. And then Miro, I would love an intro from you, sir.
Yeah, hi guys. Sorry for the background. I'm in a in a hotel lobby. So GM Miro or Evgenij Miroshnichenko for full, 2 times Ukraine champion, like multiple occasions, top 50 in the world. Currently retired as the player. Blockchain, crypto curious. Always been, I don't know, in crypto since 2018, I guess. And that be it, I guess.
Awesome. Thank you, Miro. So I want to hop right in here. And I guess, Bruno, maybe you kick us off here. I mean, I think it's pretty interesting. And when this came out, really, like, I think one of the pain points within blockchain and distributed ledger adoption is like real world applications and just things that kind of just work under the hood that make sense for things that people do every day, or hobbies that people have. Or obsessions that people have. Like, I know chess for a lot of people is definitely an obsession. But Bruno, what is kind of the universal chess passport? And I'll go round robin here and get everybody's thoughts.
Yeah, sure. So this came about from me being a part of discussions and contributing to some technical standards and conversations around digital wallets and interoperability across ecosystems. And when I mean ecosystems is the broader Web3. So not just blockchains or distributed systems, but identity, self-sovereignty of your own data, payments, and so on. So there's big efforts from, for example, the Decentralized Identity Foundation, or even the Linux Foundation has its own subset of a foundation called the Open Wallet Foundation. And the main goal of these groups is to come together and agree on how the digital wallet landscape is going to look like, because we all have wallets in all our separate ecosystems, but at its core they all do the same things. So they all do key management and security, they all offer connectivity, you all have a profile, you need to prove things, they all do similar things. And so we need to be in that space to be competitive if the world is moving to a more interoperable and standardized world, like happened with the browsers. So if you look at the browsers in the beginning, they all work very differently. And every time you open an application, it worked in one browser, the other browser wouldn't support something. And until everybody came together and agreed how things should work under the hood, we couldn't pick and choose whatever browser we want. The same conversation is happening right now with digital wallets, and more so in the space of self-sovereign identity and Web3 storage, payments, and so on. And so this is why big efforts in Algorand for me is to make us be able to connect to these pain points and these technical standards, so that people can integrate Algorand very easily. And for that, we need a few things. We need to start doing our digital identity in a certain way so that we can connect to things like real identity for people to make claims about our digital identity anchors. And in this case is decentralized identifiers that we hold the keys the same way we hold the keys today for our accounts and addresses, and credentialing, which can be in the form of verifiable credentials or NFTs. We can get a bit into that. But broader speaking is that this gives us the interoperability roadmap. And so if every wallet wants to work the same way, we are implementing the right standards. And chess is a good test bed for new technology. Historically, it has been a good field for people to try new things. AI, I'm sure Mira and Matvey know the matches with Deep Blue and Kasparov. And the chess community boomed during COVID. So it's a community very open to try new things. And this chess passport is targeted to the chess player, not to the user that has to know what the blockchain is, has to know how to on-ramp, has to know what a digital asset is or a native asset in Algorand. The player wants to play chess, they want to get rewards, they want to get their credentials, they want to have an easy registration in tournaments, and that's what it's targeted for. And they want to move from platform to platform, bring their identity and their credentials that can give to organizations to verify. So this is the broad idea. Has some advantages for us as Algorand as an ecosystem, and also collaborating with World Chess to give value to them and to chess players. And the relationship with World Chess has been very good, and that's why we're deepening the relationship. And now we have input from Miro as a grandmaster, so from both the organizational aspect and somebody who spent years in the chess space. This insights can help us build an application that gives value to the chess community and brings the Web3 element to it.
That's awesome. And I love that you say this is for the chess player, not for the native, Web3 or crypto user. I think it's been one of the pain points we've seen in other industries like gaming, where it's like, we have to almost like justify the crypto end of things sometimes, rather than just saying like, hey, this stuff works. It makes the experience better and what you already love to do. Which is playing a game or playing chess or whatever. So I want to tackle kind of in that vein from the player perspective and from kind of the chess club and entity perspective. And I guess I'll start with Matt. What are some of the current friction points around identity ratings, skill verification, or anti-cheating in chess that you guys deal with, on a consistent basis, and how would something like this chess passport kind of alleviate some of those concerns?
Right. Thank you. A really complex question, but I will try to unveil it. So basically, chess ecosystem is a quite big one. The latest estimations that there are around 1 billion chess players in the world. I mean, those who play chess at least once a year. And all these chess players, they're distributed between very different environments. So the way chess society is organized in China is very different from how it's organized somewhere in Peru or something, in Chile. And this creates a lot of friction when it comes to international events, when it comes to online events, and basically things where these small patched chess societies meet and need to somehow interact. I also think that it is very important that in this project, Algorand is concentrated on the result and not on the and not on making sure how to attach crypto there or something. So these things can be extremely helpful when it comes to international tournaments, for example. Now, if you go to the international tournament, what you get there is that organizers have to deal with documents from different countries, with different ratings, rating systems, with people with different backgrounds. There are also language obstacles and so on and so on. And the idea that this all can be substituted by a simple app where you show a QR code, it gets beep, and you're in the tournament, and the organizer knows all the stuff that he has to know about you. He doesn't see all of the stuff that you don't want to show to him, maybe her. This is one very important application. The second one is, as Bruno said, it would be very nice if a chess player moving from one chess ecosystem to another could take the history of his games with him, could take his, let's say, reputation, right? So if there were some fair play violations alleged or so on. And also this, if properly implemented, this could lead to a proper standardization of the world of chess, which would bring unity, which would bring not interoperability, but you probably understand what I mean, yeah. And yeah, so a more united world, a more transparent, a more based on, let's say, verified and trusted system. Yeah.
Is there, so you mentioned fair play, and I know, so I use chess.com, I think the app, and whenever I play, like every once in a while, I'll get like a message in my inbox that says, the person that you were playing against was like using, some sort of automated system or cheating or whatever. Like, how often does that happen with a lot of these kind of online platforms, with people, using things to try to give them an advantage instead of them just playing? I guess that's more of a question from Matt.
Yeah, so it happens quite often, and it happens more often when the prize money are involved, and it goes not just for online but for offline, and and building this trust between the organizations in chess world is an important thing, because currently how the anti-cheating works, most platforms have like this black box solution, right? That, for example, you know that some person got blocked on chess.com for cheating, but you can't go and verify whether you can't see the game. You can't make your own conclusions and so on and so on. So, or at least it's a very complicated process. I didn't think we mentioned this on this call, but Miro is actually our anti-cheating officer. So he might bring more insight on this.
Sure.
How often people cheat, how there is a problem with tracking the history of the chess player, and how the chess player history is important for making an informed decision about whether the fair play violation occurred or not.
Yeah, Miro, I would love your kind of insights on the universal chessport from the player perspective and from the anti-cheating perspective, just kind of your overall thoughts on how that could kind of help with some of the pain points that are going on.
Right, just tell me if the surrounding audio is too loud, because yeah, I was alone.
Sound great.
Then, it's Italy. Right. So, few things. How often people cheat in chess? You'd be surprised how ridiculously often. And as Matvey already pointed out, I'm acting as an anti-cheating officer, but what does it mean, right? I'm not a coder, so we have a team of programmers, and we tweak the parameters how to let's say be 99.9% sure that the person has cheated before banning them, right, from the platform. And the problem currently is while they're anonymous, right? So you create your account, you're anonymous. So, well, sometimes if it's a paid account, you paid something. Sometimes it's like absolutely free account. And I ban you, and you go on and you register a new Proton email and you create a new account and you move on, right? So with these DIDs, with identifiers, my sort of a dream would be that not only your kind of bad reputation carries on, because then you once again you register a new account and you move on with your life, but also you get a good reputation. So we all start from level 0, but over the years you build your reputation across platforms, and this is where it really comes in handy, so that it's transitory. You play on chess.com, and then you move to League Chess, you move to World Chess, and then you play an exceptionally good tournament, and I'm starting to suspect you of cheating. And then I check, okay, but that's the same guy who simply knows how to play chess. He shows very good results on chess.com and so on. So that's one implication. Then we've spoken about how it's easier for like local tournaments, organizers, for international events. I have a new case for DIDs, which popped on recently. So on 20th of July, International Chess Day is celebrated, right? And for this year, they have, again, some ambitious plan of having a tournament for 30,000 people, I was told, to be played online. And apart from just like known players, they want various social groups to be represented. All good and all, it's sort of a charity. And the question is like, and why I know all that, because my partner works at FIDE, so she's a part of this organization. And she was asking me, but how do they verify that people who play, they're, let's say, under like some very young players or seniors, or there is like a social initiative from FIDE, chess in prisons, so inmates play chess and have a competition. And the answer is, you do not have the means to verify 30,000 people, right, for an online tournament. It's impossible. Or you have to employ like a bunch of people just checking the documents. And instead, with the thing that hopefully will become like a ready product from this white paper, you just, as Matvey said, click, right? And maybe you automate, you create a little app, and then you have this like green, yellow, red code on your DID, and then we allow everybody with green and yellow to play. So that's absolutely amazing. And again, as the player, I imagine registration in over-the-board tournament, which will happen one day, like 2 months, 3 months in advance, sometimes half a year in advance. If you are professional, you have to make a decision. I will participate, say I will go to the United States, and blah, 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 and I will play this tournament in St. Louis, which is happening maybe 6 months from now. And again, you are getting involved like every other tournament. You're getting involved in this, like emails back and forth with organizers, right? And my passport is this, and could you send me a visa invitation, and this and that. And like, if that's in case you're a known player. If you're just an amateur, they might not know you at all. And they have to do a lot of checking, like go to FIDE lists and, check if if you represent the right country, and so on and so on. And with this verified credentials, and especially if you can partially disclose your credentials, and like if you have the choice as you keep the key, as we all say, right? You keep track of your data, and you decide what to verify. That's absolutely that's kind of the next level. So, and chess, like it works in chess as this little sandbox that a lot of people try to test things on chess. And of course, like you can understand it's students and their academical knowledge, academical studies. That's like medical data, of course. Like say I'm a Ukrainian currently living in Turkey, and then I arrive to Bangladesh and I have, I don't know, pancreas or something. And how on earth I'm supposed, like, what form of documents, that's crazy. So of course, like, I'm in full support of like verifiable credentials for anything. And if we start with chess, yeah, why not?
Yep. No, I think it's a great point. I mean, I think you think about kind of the wider impacts. It's like, well, why is it that every time you go to a new doctor's office, you have to give them in the United States, your social security number and your entire medical history and all this stuff? And it is like, I've got to imagine the processes are not that streamlined because I can see it whenever I go and I have to fill out all this crap every single time I go anywhere. You brought up an interesting point too, Miro, where you have these chess players that play over a number of years and kind of go from this platform to another platform, and then maybe decide to enter into tournaments and stuff like that. I would imagine that kind of legacy of their experience playing chess, as you mentioned, is like really important. Like, and maybe this is a question for Bruno, but like, and my numbers are going to be really low compared to, I'm sure, Miro, your numbers and Matvey, but like, I have like 1,000. I know they're really low. You guys are going to like laugh, but I have like 1,722 games on Chess.com, which I'm sure is really low for a lot of people. But for me, that's like 4 or 5 months of my life, like, or 6 months playing chess, like for probably a couple of hours a day here and there. And if I were to just lose that would like really suck, because like I legitimately spent a ton of time like getting to the point where I'm kind of at even right now at a very, very beginner level. Bruno, like, what does that represent too? Like building something where, my credentials can be recovered across platforms or whatever it may be.
Yeah, great point. So in your case, imagine you actually wanted to either go to another platform or actually go in person to a tournament where you needed to have a minimum rating or history to join in. As a credential, so chess.com, if they wanted to come on board, you could apply for a credential, say, I want a credential to prove X, and it could be your history. When they issue a credential, that credential is personal and private to you. So then if you take this passport, you could go to World Chess or a chess club or anywhere that this could be verified, and you say, you know what, I want to present this information in a certain format to this verifier. And then they could make an attestation saying, this Solomon actually have this minimum rating and this history to either join this tournament, or when I onboard them and register in my platform, that's immediate. You don't have to start with a base rating level that most platforms give it to you. And that's extremely powerful. And not only that, touching what Miro said, the KYC information, like sometimes you want to attach, all of this can be anonymous. You can have a DID, your digital ID, but that might not link, or you might not want to. You could have several of these, but one of them is the one you actually do your professional chess activity, or you actually one that you actually take more serious. So you actually want to attach that to a real identity. And this is where it becomes even more powerful, because you can cross borders and register into tournaments, do very quick tournament registrations. And as Miro said, this only starts with chess, because this problem is being thought about. All these organizations are trying to standardize how wallets work. And this is one of the biggest use cases. Imagine you want to apply for a new debit card from a new issuer. You always have to do KYC, and that's incredibly cumbersome, that I always have to put my documents up front, share with everybody. They might only need a subset of the information I'm sharing, and that there's some privacy implications here. Chess is only the start, but I think it is the perfect test bed for this, and I think it'll be very welcome, since the experience would be register a QR code, authenticate with the QR code, go to an in-person tournament, prove who I am online. This is, doing on over the board tournament is quite a cool thing to prove. It's like, I am this person online. Here's a QR code. Check that. Here's my real identity. Make it a very quick registration. I think it's incredibly powerful, and chess is only the beginning.
So you mentioned kind of this QR code process. I would love, Bruno, maybe if you could lead us into what this system will look like once live, what the experience will be like for me as a chess player who may go to different platforms and participate in tournaments, or, you know, just in general, what you kind of think this system is going to kind of look like, because you mentioned kind of chess is just the beginning. So what's the user, I guess the user experience is kind of what I'm asking.
Yeah. So the first experience will be, you have to create your profile, right? So today you go to any website or chess platforms and you create an account. Say register account, you put emails, use your name, passwords for different ones, and you go around and you register N of these accounts. And for each platform is the same thing. With this experience, it leveraged passkeys a lot as well. So we all getting used to passkeys, is getting proliferated across the web. That experience is incredibly powerful with a system like this, where you register and authenticate by scanning a QR code, where your wallet holds the key for that domain, where it in the future proves who you are digitally, so it can authenticate you. So that experience, it's not a Web3 dedicated thing, but that experience adds value to this. But the very first action of the user should be to create his profile. When you download the app, not on a platform, where you put your name, you create your DID. It's a technical thing. Different wallets might choose to show this information or not, but you create who you are digitally. Then you go to a platform, and to authenticate, it should be as simple as you scan a QR code. And then that tells the platform, hey, I'm authenticating. I'm proving to you that I own this key, and this is my identifier. So each platform no longer has to keep a separate, different record for the same person. They all know what's the identifier of the player across different organizations, and you control that. And then as you go along, your app should hold the credentials. So you can think of it as a wallet in the real terms, where it keeps your cards, your ID, but in a digital form, in which you use that to prove who you are and authenticate. And in terms of, if we're going to get technically, so today, in most Web3, the way our application and the apps talk to each other, we use this thing called Wallet Connect in most Web3. That is not part of the standardization conversation. That's one thing that we're trying to remove, because it's a man in the middle. Somebody controls the flow of information. If we're talking about credentials and private information, that needs to go away. And so we're doing quite heavy work on that. So we developed something called Liquid Auth, which it is leveraging standard protocols. Everything we do, we try to avoid creating new standards, because that keeps us in a technological bubble. And I think that's a big mistake of most Web3 spaces. You can adopt instead of create when there's already something out there that you can leverage. And that's what we're doing. And it's going to be a peer-to-peer system where the player and the org talk directly with each other, on top of all those benefits of self-sovereignty of your identity and data.
I think it's interesting too, and I'm sure everybody here cares about privacy in certain regards. And I think that, we mentioned just the process that people have to go through right now, not only with credentials and across different platforms that they're using, because even, I'm sure even chess platforms are asking for, what's your email address? What's this? What's that? And it might be at a much lower level. Then you get into like healthcare and stuff like that. And it's like, you have to give, a drop of blood basically, like to go and sign up for anything. And that to me is like, it should be I think it's one of those things that is just like fundamentally important, where we care so much about privacy, but if we care so much about privacy, why do we have to give our information every single doctor we go to? Because at some point along that path, something is going to get exposed. There's data exposures and all sorts of stuff. If you have everything in kind of this decentralized platform, and you're choosing as the user to only give what you actually need to give up for whatever scenario you're giving it up for, then it becomes a totally different story. And I think it's just important. So I want to ask, I guess, Bruno, like, what are some of the strengths of the Algorand ecosystem for on-chain credentialing, and why it kind of, you feel like Algorand set up kind of perfectly for a system like this?
Yes. So glad you asked this question. So Algorand is pretty unique in its design and properties compared to other layer ones. And in some cases, I mean, you could implement this in any chain, or I mean, all these standards do not require a blockchain if you don't want to. Now, there are some interesting properties that you inherit when you add a distributed system to implement some of these protocols and standards, and some extra ones in terms of Algorand. So I'll start with the DID. So the DID, it's a W3C diff standard, which defines your decentralized identifier. And in a very broad, very high level, it means that you have this one key, like we do with our assets today in Web3. So you have this dedicated key that it is the anchor for your digital identifier, that instead of platforms creating their own records, you provide this. This is a public key that you provide to each platform, saying, this is my key. Build any record, any history you build about me, attach it to this public key. And you control this. Now, along having the cryptographic basics of having a public key pair, you need to have some other metadata that needs to be stored somewhere, because people need to find some metadata or technical information about that key in order to do things. For example, okay, how do I actually challenge you to prove to me that you actually own the private key corresponding with this DID? So, or is there multiple owners of this DID? Or is there controllers? Or did you delegate ownership of this DID to somebody? So there is some metadata, non-private information, but some metadata needs to be found somewhere. There's a lot of DIDs that uses databases, and you can store on AWS, you can store on IPFS, you can choose whatever you want to store. They're meant to work the same way. Both the issuer, of a credential or a verifier, does not care what the technical stack is, but as the user, you might be really careful where you put your data in. In Algorand, the same way we create accounts in Algorand we have this thing called boxes, which you can think of as Algorand bringing its own IPFS alongside a distributed ledger. And what this allows you to do is that not only you can store your digital assets, this little piece of information, of metadata, can actually be stored in a distributed system alongside is the same system where you manage your own digital assets. And you can recover them in the same way. Algorand has certain economics that might make this very attractive. For example, when you lock data into boxes, it's not a recurring cost, like, let's say, on IPFS or any other storage solution where you have to recurringly pay to keep that data around. This is your identity. It's actually quite important that you sure is kept around. So in Algorand, the way it works, you lock away the token based on the size of the data that you want to keep around, and that amount gets locked. But if you ever want to delete for some reason, you get 100% of that token back. So it's arguably not a sunk cost. As long as you want that data to keep around, you keep it. So economically, we have a good competitive option for people if they want to use DIDs. Algorand, we can come and say, if you use Algorand, you might want to look at this from not just from a distributed system perspective, but from an economic perspective. And then there is the credential side of things. Usually you don't want to store credentials in plain text anywhere that can be visible. So there, the credential system, you might want just hashes or just for integrity check. So you might want to know if an issuer issued 100 credentials and then they revoked 5 of them. You actually might be really interested in know if something changed in terms of the credential issuance. Oh, he started revoking credentials. Why? You might go and ask, is any of my players being affected? Did you detect a cheating somehow? And you can go and ask this type of information. So Algorand also supports for that. But where this system really eventually kicks in, if you ever start working in a system that rewards or digital assets are transferred or between players, or you want to redeem tokens in certain platforms to join tournaments, or are there secondary markets or any sort of stablecoin action ever to join a tournament or something, Algorand really leverages the most advanced property, which is on a single layer, you have immediate finality, which means every time you transfer, you can read the state of the chain at no risk. So there's no risk management saying, do I have to wait 6 blocks? Could it be competitive forks? It's immediate right away. So everything is final immediately. That's in a much later stage. At this stage, we care about identity, which we bring with the ID. As we build around this, we can leverage all its true power.
I have a sidebar question for you, Bruno, just because you piqued my interest, and I know we're going a little bit deeper down the technical rabbit hole here, but you mentioned kind of these boxes within kind of Algorand for the way that, you know, kind of the DID stuff would end up working out. And I think for decentralized identifiers, it kind of interests me, like even when we get outside of like personal individual data, and like real world assets being tokenized on chain and things like that, like that might allow you guys some flexibility for like transfer of ownership where like, let's say there's like an acquisition of something and there's like legality around like all the data has to go to this person or this entity that's acquired something. Would it make it easier to then be like, okay, it's verified that I no longer have access to this. There was an acquisition. All of that data is now transferred over into this new entity with this. You get kind of where I know it's a little bit of a weird question, but you get where I'm going with it?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. I mean, technically you could do it. And that's something that could be verifiable. So in Algorand, you have to create an application that owns these boxes and you create them as you need them. And you could transfer ownership of an application that holds those boxes. And you can actually prove that. The challenge there is that anything, personally, I want to be efficient and add only valuable data to a chain and only when needed. And also in a way that doesn't get the integrators in trouble with regulation and compliance. So anything that is real data might check those boxes of it cannot be public. Even if you encrypted, there is risks now with post-quantum because you can actually read stuff that is encrypted, store it for a later analysis. So my concern is, you can do technically, but a lot of times when we design applications, and I think this is a problem in Web3 as a whole as well, it's like we put everything on chain, and we don't take into account the legal frameworks, the compliance, what is the risk for integrators? Is the rest of the world actually wants to trust a system where everything is public? There's some risk involved when designing applications in that matter. So even though technically it's possible, actually storing real data in the clear for stuff like that might be a little bit of a risk. That's why for me, metadata, creating native assets to represent those things, to prove custody and ownership change might be it's a bit of more of a light touch, but might be more feasible to keep integrators out of trouble. That's what I would say.
All right, I want to go round table here. I know, I want to make sure I can get back to Miro here. And I think I kind of want to just ask, there's been Miro, you said that you're into this space too, which is interesting because you're both in kind of the chess world deeply as kind of a grandmaster and all the amazing, accomplishments that I'm sure you've had throughout your career. But then also kind of just deep down the rabbit hole of crypto, blockchain, and distributed ledger. And, I think that we've all probably sitting here have seen so much more adoption over the past 12 to 24 months with blockchain and distributed ledger than we ever have. So I guess, Miro, I want to kind of ask like what you're excited about for the future, whether it be within your work with World Chess or, blockchain as a whole, or, the credentialing stuff through Algorand, just kind of whatever you're excited about. I would love to hear your thoughts, Miro.
Well, I'm particularly happy that this project emerged, to be honest, because, well, you guys would know better than me that it's like this worldwide crypto adoption at current stage. I'm sorry, but it's a meme still. Right. I mean, let's forget this 2017 dentist coins, whatever. Like at some point people get excited and let's put your, I don't know, your dog breed on blockchain and stuff, right? But here I can actually see why. And once again, I like to see it as a blockchain project, not a crypto project, right? So, once again, if you ask, do you need a token for that? The answer is no. Like, as I'm sorry, but many things on the market do not need a token, right? But here there is a beauty of distributed ledger, like you literally like the self custody, not for the memes, but really you want to be the owner of your data. You want to be able to control how much you're disclosing. Yeah, by the way, like quick side route of why grandmasters sometimes would like to have this and stay pseudonymous, because a lot of platforms, chess.com included, and like various platforms that now exist, some of them do not exist anymore. Whenever you're a grandmaster, they would offer you some perks, membership, maybe even some peanuts money for participating in the tournaments and so on and so on. And in order to verify you're a chess grandmaster, they ask you to send a passport card. And how comfortable are you in our age? Like whatever, like I might play your silly online tournament and you will have a copy of my passport forever. Right? It's not a very good deal. Right? And therefore, like I have my membership on chess.com. I don't think I've sent them my passport. It's just I know a guy who knows a guy. But most of the time, in order to prove you'd be sharing your governmental documents. And it's not right, yeah. So that's why I think this thing has to be built. And again, if it works on chess, it has to be extrapolated in pretty much every aspect of your life. Yeah, like so that you become verifiable without compromising your privacy.
Yep. And Matt, I would love your thought. Just anything you're excited about as well. I know that World Chess and Algorand have a collaboration partnership here, and I know that this white paper is pretty exciting for you guys, but just in general, what you're excited about for either the future of the initiative, or you can broaden it out as much as you want to as well. That's fine.
Yeah, well, the blockchain is the whole, right? I mean, something that is like still not done till that day is like, and I've seen it on CT recently, but that's been my thoughts for a few years. Like, go to your local bank and try to send, say, 20K to a random person somewhere in the world. And you understand why we need blockchains. Because you have to fill like a multitude of papers and then proven, are you sure? And like, not even that. Like, I'm trying to book something online. And my stupid bank, like every now and again, they say, are you sure you want to pay this? Are you sure? Okay, we flagged you as a suspicious transaction. So I want people to get more and more responsible for, and then self-custody. So I'm a big advocate for self-custody. And therefore, like, if this thing happens, I want my fellow chess players to become self-custodians of their achievements, their titles, and so on and so on. Because if you guys remember, talking to Bruno and Matt, when we were discussing, I was the one to say, like, please do not call it a wallet, because chess players will be scared of. Call it a digital passport. So we are at that stage of adoption that people who are in the know, they understand how cool it is, but also we are not spreading it enough. And whenever you call something a wallet, and people will say, okay, I'm controlling my wallet, I'll lose it. Right? So this is a job to be done, but also I think what we are doing here, hopefully this will be like a really, really good start to, to expand with DOIDs, verifiable credentials in various areas of human life.
Awesome, Miro. I love it. Matt, I want to move over to you, and just if you want to go over anything you're excited about for the future, the floor is yours.
Right. So, I sometimes have this problem with blockchain that people sometimes without even trying to get an understanding of what this can bring, they try to somehow exploit the trend, not to create something new, but just to make money out of every raised market interest from, let's say, unsophisticated investors in NFTs and so on. And it really brings me it really brings me joy when I see a genuine product which really understands what advantages the blockchain has over alternative technologies, and how it can be useful in terms of privacy, transparency, finality, and so on and so on and so on. And this project seems to be one of these genuine projects that can bring real value, right? And yeah, we have a lot of projects, ongoing projects with Algorand, and we are now implementing this on a low level, basically where we are bringing some data on the blockchain, trying to keep some games and activities that are happening on the platform there, and trying to educate people and allow them some level of control of this, not directly through blockchain, but using this technology underneath. And yeah, so as I said, whenever I see a genuine case for the use of blockchain, yeah, I'm really happy to participate in this sort of activities. And yes, Algorand is a outstanding technical partner that you can do such things with very deep expertise and really cool technology behind all this. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Bruno, I'm going to let you ramp us out here. And I think that both Matt and Miro said some interesting stuff that I feel like, most people that have been in this space for a long time probably align with those viewpoints where like it becomes more about, okay, what's the value of the infrastructure itself? Like what can these distributed ledgers, what can these blockchains do? Not everything has to be a dog coin. like I have nothing against dog coins, but not everything has to be a dog coin. Like, and I think that those are some pretty powerful statements. And for me, I'll say it's good to see people that aren't natively in this space realizing the same thing that people that have been in this space for years have started to realize, where it's like, we need some real products. We need to start leveraging the technology in a way that actually makes sense. And yeah, I think this is a really cool initiative. So, but Bruno, I'll let you lead us out here.
Yeah, so this has been some of my biggest efforts. I've been in this space for quite a long time, and I've seen some of the mistakes, in my opinion, that this space has gone to, and I think that's what signals lack of maturity to the rest of the digital space. And for me, the number one mistake is that treating an infrastructure component as the product. For me, it's not the product. It is infrastructure and part of the technical stack that supports a product. And for me, a lot of the marketing, a lot of the products that comes out, it comes from the perspective is that, oh, this blockchain, this technology piece is the product. It's like nobody gets excited about databases when we use applications on our phone, right? There's now conventions about databases.
I've joked about this
so
before, and it's like, we're not sitting here in 2025 being like, oh my God, how amazing is it that my Yahoo Mail is interoperable with your Gmail account and that we can talk to each other? It's so crazy.
Exactly. You add value to the user because you can do certain things that the technology allows you to do. And another thing that I want to prove with this product is that the user is the focus. And I think Web3 has gone to a place where on-ramping is so hard because we put it on the user to know how to pay fees. For me, fees should be a business expense. It is the business that should cover those fees, and they upsell the user in somehow to make it worthwhile as a business. And the way this product, I'm still writing the specs. I'll output some technical specs eventually, but leveraging, in the case of Algorand, very specific capabilities is where we delegate the fees to either the wallet provider or the domain. We can do this with groups. Algorand has this property. You can group transactions, and it's atomic, and anybody can pool for those fees. The user, when they create their profile, they need to write on chain because there is this metadata, tiny information about your DID. The user should not have to go to MoonPay, put their credit card, buy crypto to pay for those fees. It's the business that is running to cover those fees for the user. And that's just one of the pain points I think this technology to hit really mainstream is to learn from that. The other bits, standards, is we like to reinvent the wheel in so many different places. For example, I was in consensus when this happened, so I was quite not happy how things got standardized. The whole sign with Ethereum flow, you don't need to transact to prove ownership of a key, but because it's a blockchain, we like to put it on a blockchain, and that became how we do things in most of the Web3 space. But that's a massive friction point for today for us to adopt things like passkeys and just prove that I own this key without spending, I don't know how much they charge on Ethereum these days, but and that's just one of the things.
You have to watch a commercial, and you get your if you watch a commercial on MetaMask, then your transaction's free.
That's horrible. You don't need, yeah, it's like you don't need that to prove that I own this key. That's all. There are already ways of doing that. Same with communication. Like I was mentioning, Wallet Connect. Wallet Connect is a massive middleman in this space. They control the protocol. They have to whitelist applications. You have to beg permission to enhance your capabilities on your network, and they sit in the middle. It's a flow of information, should be peer-to-peer, and we go all these lengths to develop these systems that are meant to be distributed. And then Web3 goes and designs its own way of doing things when there's already tools to do that. So it's also, I'm committed to this effort of let's mature, let's bet on interoperability, reduce friction, and the user is the focus. Is not everything needs to go on chain. If it goes on chain, it has to have value for people to consume it and use it. Otherwise, let's not reinvent the wheel. That's sort of what I'm mostly focused on.
I love it. Well, Miro, I want to know, because we mentioned this before we went live, where can we go check out some of the stuff that you do, maybe some of the competitions that you enter into, or anything you kind of want to lead us into, so for where we can check out some of the stuff you're doing?
Well, I mean, entering the competition hasn't happened for quite some time because, when you used to be good at something and then you're getting worse, like nobody enjoys losing. So I'm no longer that. But I do a lot of commentary these days. So last kind of examples I'm not ashamed of was last year's edition of World Rapid and Blitz Championship, which was held in New York in Wall Street. And I was the commentator with Maurice Ashley, and we've done a nice job. We had one of the highlights. We had Neil deGrasse Tyson as one of the guests, believe it or not. I mean, so So we did, yeah, but so just go YouTube, check, yeah, GM Miro explains something, and you might find me in this way or another. I do some stuff for St. Louis Chess Club, which some people would know as well. Right, and one last thing, if I may, there's a lot of talk in crypto space, been a lot of talk. Now everybody talks dogs coins, shit coins, and so on. I guess hot air rises coins. There's been a lot of talk about like crypto for public good, right? And I'm yet to see anything built for public good. And this thing can actually become, especially if it, once again, if it scales and various DIDs, not only like chess related. Well, chess related, you'll do public good for chess players, but for kind of broader audience of, let's say, users. Once again, yeah, a person doesn't have to know how many validators Solana has or whatever, right? Like, I mean, I know how to store my credentials on chain, and I'm safe, kind of taking self custody of it. That's it. Yeah, so that'd be a great call.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Miro. I want to make sure I let everybody know you can go check out worldchess.com. Give these guys a follow at The World Chess. You can follow us at Genfinity.io and check out all the articles that we write at Genfinity.io. And then want to give a huge shout out to the Algorand Foundation for helping to make these podcasts possible at ALGO Foundation. That being said, everybody, I thought this was a pretty cool one. Digital credentials, verifiable credentials on Algorand and with World Chess, and chess is just the beginning. So hang out with me for just a second, guys, as I ramp this down and make sure I get the recording. Thank you guys so much for joining today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Solomon. Thank you, everyone.